Oh, heck, I guess here it's been about 4 or 5 years ago. A neighbor of ours up here going up to their place up on Ramshorn Road's what they call it. But anyway, the old fella was driving along and he looked over there and down on the creek bottom and hell, there was a grizzly bear standing there, and he stopped and looked at it, and there's no cow eating down in the creek bottom, you know, where the grass is good, and that bear just reached up and swatted that cow in the head, and I mean, it killed it instantly. So anyway, he had a cell phone, and he got right on the phone, and he called us, and he called the Game and Fish Department, and they come up, and they let us out, by golly, sure did. That bear sure as heck killed that cow. But that was about all that was ever said of it. We didn't, you know, I mean, they didn't go after the bear. I guess it was within the bear's right to eat our beef. But like I said, we didn't see any compensation or anything like that over it. And I guess probably 30 years ago, you'd went and got your trusty musket and went up and tracked that bear down and shot it. Been rid of it. If you tried that nowadays, they'd probably put you in the can forever. I think you could get a worse fine for killing a grizzly bear or a wolf than what you could for killing a human being.
You know, when you talk about what threatens bears, it boils down basically to people. And if you look at how bears are thriving inside of the park in the recovery zone, it's very clear that managing humans and human activities can result in healthy bear populations. Bear reproduction and survival is high enough in both of these areas that the population is growing. When you move outside of the recovery zone, what we see is that human mortality is much higher, and it's a result primarily of bears coming into conflict with people. Some of it is on public land, but a lot of it is on private land. And the long-term conservation of the grizzly bear, I believe, is directly related to how well people can live with bears.
Okay. This summer, not in our neighborhood, but in another neighborhood that's close by, there was a grizzly bear that was on somebody's deck, and it was summertime, so the windows were open, just the screens were covering the windows, and a sow got into their house and raided their pantry cabinet and just acted like the house was theirs, and that's a little too close to home, and that bear got relocated. The sow and cubs got relocated, and hopefully she won't come back. In the Gallatin Canyon and Big Sky, we live so close to the edge of the wilderness that it's really hard to separate it out sometimes, and a bear just naturally might want to come across the meadow here. It's not fair of us to move into their habitat and then say, oh, we don't want the bears here because we're scared of them or whatever. So it's kind of fun to know that they're here. And the grizzlies, you know, they're basically lazy animals. They're just trying to find the best food the easiest way. And if the best food is in Yellowstone Park, they'll stay in Yellowstone Park. If the best food is outside Yellowstone Park, they'll go wherever the best food is. I love knowing that it's still a big enough, open enough, wild enough place that there can be grizzly bears here. People who aren't used to living with a lot of wildlife around, it seems like they often think it's really great at first to know that they had wildlife in their yard, but when they start running into trouble, whether it's a moose eating their aspen trees or bears getting into their garbage or something like that, then oftentimes it seems like the attitude will switch, that I don't really want the wildlife here anymore. But we have to remember that as we've chosen to live here, we've chosen to live in a place where there are wild animals and we're in the middle of their habitat. So I feel pretty strongly that we need to learn how to get along with them and how to give them their space, and they'll give us our space.
Any listing or delisting of a species under the Endangered Species Act has to go through the review under Section 4A1. 4A1, you have to address the factors of habitat. There has to be adequate habitat for the species. There have to be adequate numbers, and the numbers have to be successfully increasing or doing well. There have to be adequate regulatory mechanisms in place so that when the Endangered Species Act is pulled out from underneath the species, that there's still a structure to maintain the needs of the animals in the long term. You know, keep in mind the grizzly bear is a very, what would you say, a charismatic national species. I mean, the public, the people of America know all about the grizzly bear. And it's not something that can be swept under the rug, you know, and we can do nefarious things that is going to be harmful to grizzly bears. I mean, as part of the conservation strategy project in the Yellowstone ecosystem, or this management plan, there's going to be twice-a-year meetings of all the agencies. They're going to have to, and they will, reveal all the monitoring information on mortality, on conflicts, on issues where bears have gotten into trouble with people, on changes in food sources. We're monitoring all the major foods and changes in those foods. All that is public information. It'll be publicly available and released each year after the bear is delisted. So there'll be a transparent program where the public will be allowed to be aware of what's happening, and they will be aware of how the agencies are responding when there are needs out there. If those things started to go downhill for the bears, then there are ways to propose relisting for the bear, and the public still has the ability to propose that. So somebody could come in with information and propose a status change, that the bear be relisted, and it could be relisted under the Endangered Species Act. But I think there's a lot of pride in the states that they really feel that they've done a lot to get the bear where it is today, and they want to maintain that. I mean, they don't want to, I mean, to them, delisting the grizzly bear doesn't mean you could just go back to the way it was. I've never seen that. I mean, there's a tremendous commitment in the 3 states, Montana, Wyoming, and Idaho, to make sure the grizzly bears continue to stay healthy in the Yellowstone ecosystem. And I have great confidence that's what's going to happen.
If the bear isn't here, then what do we have? We have beautiful landscape. We got some ungulates, some herbivores, but the predator, you know, the main part of what made this country exciting, adventuresome, where we're a part of it. People say, what's going to happen after Bob Jackson leaves? And, you know, I'm the one that's in the press, the ones they identify with this, Action Jackson. You know, yes, I catch a lot of poachers, and it makes for a good story, but once the good story's gone, you know, you still have the same problems here. I don't want to see Yellowstone's core population of bears being diminished like I think it's going to be as soon as this bear is delisted. What I'm concerned about is the attitude of a lot of the people here. Here in Wyoming, Montana, there's always been a level of, you know, we're going to conquer instead of live with. To me, the best thing I've ever learned back here is you have an animal out here like a grizzly bear that's actually a top dog. I'm not top dog here. And to have that respect, to know that you're not on top of everything, that you can't lord it over, it gives you a different perspective of living with nature instead of trying to dominate it. And some people, if they live and they have success with aggressiveness, then they can't tolerate something out there that's going to keep them from getting and doing what they want to do.